Okay, my name is James Williams Jr., and this is Comic Book number 2. So I've touched on Marvel's Redconing, and now I'm going to touch on DC's Redconing because I'm more Marvel than DC, so most of the shit that I'm saying is basically shit on a really long stick that you can just sling at people and smack them in the face with, Mr. Hanky. Anyway, so a long, long time ago when DC and Marvel both did Redconing, uh, DC's retconning was probably a little less far-fetched as Marvel's retconning. So let's start with the retconning of some Superman shit. I think it was Crisis on Infinite Earth or something. I don't really remember the title. I just remember that there was a big-ass retconning at DC, and it happened about the time that the Legion had a cartoon on CW when they were about to end the saga. They brought in Superman X, and Superman X was a genetic clone of Superman and Lex Luthor with kryptonite-laced DNA, so that kryptonite can no longer affect him, which is why he had green eyes and black eyeballs like Gambit. So his irises were green, but the white part of our eyes was black on him, and he had no real weakness. But he wasn't mega strong, but he could breathe in space. I don't even know when they stopped making Superman able to breathe in space, but apparently he could never breathe in space. He just could hold his breath for a very long time, which didn't make any sense to me, but that's what they did. So we're going to talk about Superman. About the time Smallville was coming to an end, they rehashed Superman based, like, they kind of came out together with Smallville, where Superman would not have the cape anymore and he would have the hood. And they made Superman more dark. They tried to basically do the same thing they did with Dark Knight, only with Superman. And then in one of the retconning of Superman, they made it so Superman never came to Earth, but he was in the timeline and he punched the timeline. Now this is where shit gets fucked up. All right, so he punched the big orb timeline thing, which like really shook up the universe, because Superman who never made it to our Earth, who he somehow was still superpowered, because everybody knows that if you're Superman and you're Kryptonian, you don't have any superpowers unless you come to Earth. So, but also, a lot of the Kryptonians also aren't weakened by kryptonite, because kryptonite really didn't have a lot of effect on the people from Kandor, who was in that small bottle city. But it fucks up Superman and it fucks up Kara. Don't ask me how that works, but a lot of people from Kandor and New Krypton, kryptonite didn't really fuck with them. And then when they retconned it, kryptonite fucks with everybody from Krypton now. Anyway, so Superman punches a timeline. He brings Jason Peter Todd back to life, who became the Red Hood in one universe, because in the Red Hood in the other universe was actually the Joker. Then they made the Joker more recently. They made the Joker 3 different people, which I totally am against. I think that they totally fucked up making the Joker 3 different people. They should have just kept the Joker as one guy, and for the movie purposes, they gave him a name, Jack Napier. So when they retconned all that shit, Joker no longer had a name, and they made Joe Chill the guy who killed Bruce and people, and depending on what universe, if Bruce died with Flashpoint, Joe Chill killed Bruce and Martha, where if Thomas died, Joe killed them in the regular world. Alright, you get all that? The retconning will fuck you up. Anything that gets retconned, it's totally a fucking wash, because then you've learned all this useless information that now no longer exists. I personally got kicked out of a room on Kicked because me and an Asian girl who's like maybe 20 years old, she didn't understand it. I'm in my 40s, and so everything that I tell her did happen before they retconned the fuck out of DC Universe. So we got to arguing. We got into this big fight about how many times has Batman been the Green Lantern. And then I had to fact check it to her and show her that my dumb ass was correct. Batman has been the Green Lantern twice before the retconning. The first time, I forgot why he was the Green Lantern, and he was like bullshit with the Green Lantern. But when he got the ring the second time, he was like the baddest Green Lantern ever. And if it wasn't for one of the videos on YouTube that I found that saved my ass, I probably would have got kicked out of the group sooner. But after I showed them the video, I got kicked out of the group on Kick. So you guys know where that is, and I'm not gonna sink to her level and give you guys the finger or anything, but I was correct. I'm 45 years old. This happened like a year or so ago, and I just never went back to the group. They never invited me back, and I'm not one to start problems. But I'll solve the problem by just not giving in. Anyway, Batman's been Green Lantern at least twice before the Redconing. Now I don't know anything because everything that I've learned in Marvel and DC in my 45 years of life, knocking out 40 years because, well, knocking out 4 years because I've been reading since I was 3, and DC was the first comics I ever picked up because of Jonah Hex. When they did all the Redconing, everything that I speak of now is non-existent. Because when Hal Jordan became the Green Lantern, it was because Abin Sur, I think that was his name, he was crashing and the ring brought Hal Jordan to him. Then they retconned that shit. When John Stewart became the Green Lantern, for the Redconing, Hal Jordan personally picked John Stewart because of their military brotherhood. He picked John Stewart because John Stewart was in a wheelchair, he lost everything, he became the Green Lantern, he became a smackhead, a drug addict, whatever. And then they retconned the fuck out of that shit. And then everybody started hating Guy Gardner. For no reason whatsoever, everybody hated Guy Gardner. Everybody. Even Kilowog. So that wiped that out. Now back to the timeline. Superman punches the timeline. The Superman that never came to Earth. The Red Robin is now Jason Peter Todd. He also was the Red Hood. He also went through so much bullshit, and he was one of the people that played a key part in Crisis on Infinite Earths or whatever the hell the shit was. And then also the Indian Invasion saga. So then also when the Young Justice cartoon came out, when they did the time jump, was when all of this stuff was going on. When Young Justice was on, it started off with Dick Grayson as Robin, and then it pops back. They jump 5 years, and now Tim Drake is Robin, and they bring up Jason Peter Todd, but they don't really talk about it. They say, yeah, we're not going to let what happened to the second Robin happen to you. We got our eye on you. And then finally, the DC Universe and Warner Brothers started coming out with all these Batman movies where Damian Wayne came into the picture. So again, that punches the timeline, the retconning, and all that other stuff, it just happens in both universes. And when you retcon something, you're totally throwing everything from Generation Xers away. I'm a Generation Xer, born 1973, so everything that I've learned in Marvel and DC is now null and void. And for those who don't know, yes, the Watchmen was part of the DC Universe. And when that came out, it came out in a time where there was another saga called World Without Heroes. I'm pretty sure I'm the only one that read the fucking book. No one remembers it. I'm not sure who wrote it. I'm pretty sure Frank Miller may have dabbled in it, but I'm not going to swear to it because he did The Dark Knight. And when World Without Heroes came, the civilians had to do all the fighting and other crazy shit. Somebody please tell me they read that book, because I don't want to be the only one on Earth that read World Without Heroes for DC Comics. But anyway, there was no heroes. And Watchmen came out about that time, I guess, because there were like some writing snafus in DC Comics or whatever. But Watchmen came out about the time World Without Heroes came out. It came out about the time that they were going to kill Jason Peter Todd as Robin. So yeah, technically the Watchmen are part of the DC Universe. And if you're up to speed now, I think Grifter and Zealot and half the Wildcats are part of the DC Universe now. They're no longer a part of Image, or they go back and forth. I don't really know. As Jim Lee went back to DC, he was originally at Marvel, and he did a lot of Spider-Man along with Jason Peter Todd. Excuse me, Todd McFarlane. Sorry, Todd. And by the way, there's another Spawn that they're working on trying to get, and I need a job. Anyway, so moving back on. When they retconned DC, it didn't affect me as bad as Marvel because I wasn't really reading DC Comics. I still don't really read DC Comics, but I enjoy the DC shows. I love Arrow. I love Black Lightning. I love The Flash. That's like my favorite of all of them. I love Legends of Tomorrow, and I love Supergirl. I will more than likely never get a job on those shows. How unfortunate. But anyway, that being said, because I'm more Marvel than DC anyway, and I do love and miss Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and I think that they should try to save that show. But anyway, this is about DC, so we're going to get off of Marvel topics. When they retconned DC, and Invasion came, and whatever the hell the other one was with everything centered around Jason Peter Todd, it was something new for me, because I'm one of those people who's like, well, this guy's dead, and this guy's dead, and how is this happening? And You know, they got rid of the fact that Azrael was Batman and all kinds of other shit. Now, I could be wrong on that, so you can fact check it. They totally fucked up Lobo. Lobo was the thing that was going to win me back to reading DC Comics because Lobo was their unadulterated version of Wolverine. Lobo was a badass, and he chased after people with a fucking meat hook. You know, which is one of the reasons why I liked him. Was he had a chain like Ghost Rider, he rode a bike like Ghost Rider, and he had a fucking meat hook. You know, on a chain. And he wore that bitch around. The problem with Lobo is that Lobo was a badass who didn't give a fuck and would sell his mom for a piece of Draxon bread or whatever the hell that shit was called, their money. So, and Lobo was, believe it or not, a zombie. Now, I've seen some relooks at the new Lobo, and I'm like, yeah, you know, he's not my Lobo. And they've changed him. They did something weird with his hair. They took all the wild stuff off, and then they basically they tamed him. And Lobo, like Wolverine and Wild Child, was like a combination of Wolverine, but with Wild Child's inability to be controlled, and Lobo just really didn't give a shit. And once they changed Lobo, I'm like, really? You know, if I can't be Batman, I don't want to be Superman. If I can't be in a Lantern Corps, Lobo is who I would like to be. Until now. I'm not that fond of the new Lobo. I mean, I'm more than willing to give him a chance. It's just that I like the main man when the main man was the main man. Now they kind of tamed him. So, like, yeah, you know, the redconing of stuff really just... Redconing is the way the people who work in the comic industries pretty much give you the finger. Right up Main Street. No Vaseline, no condom, and they don't even take you to dinner. They just give you the finger, and then you have to adapt. Alright? So that being said, I'm going to end this DC redconing fiasco because I'm losing my grain of thought, and I don't want to switch back into Marvel. So thank you guys for tuning in. I'm James Williams Jr. This is Company Havoc number 2. Be seeing you.